The deal is this. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. Dude, I'm pissed. Dude, I'm pissed. Come on. Why don't we? Come on. Why don't we? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are covering Garrett Morrison. Let me just do all of
Gort
that over
Mortison. Hey, Gort.
Hey, hello.
You're going to get cursed. Don't call him Gort. He's going to hex you.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are covering Grant Morrison's new X-Men. We are currently on issue 119, and we are in the middle of a bunch of crazy shit happening to the X-Men. To quickly sum it up, Professor Xavier has been taken over by his womb twin that he murdered by Cassandra Nova. She has gone into space to take over the Shi'ar Empire. We have not seen her in a while. Meanwhile, the new X-Men, the X-Men are dealing with the U-Men, a group of humans that want to harvest mutants for their organs so that they become a third species and get mutant powers themselves. Also, Beast has been beaten up by a student that was under the power of Cassandra Nova, so he's out of commission, and the school... after Xavier has outed the school to the press, the school is being protested, and so all of the Xavier's team is dealing with that in his absence. So,
we have a couple little bits of business here, just real quick. One, I always like to draw attention to these covers. I think this is a great cover. I love this this angel in the uniform we never actually see her in.
Yeah,
with the cool kind of like flyboy helmet.
Yes,
you know, I think that's like awesome.
That she has like drawn stickers on. Like that's the coolest part of that to me, right? Like she has teamed it up.
Yeah, it's super cool. I love it so much. With her name with an anarchist symbol for the A. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is we're introduced to the most controversial artist on this run, Igor Kordy, in this issue. Igor Kordy at this time in Marvel was oftentimes used as this kind of like pinch hitter for things because he could work very quickly. I was reading, there's a blog that Paul O'Brien does. He runs the comic podcast I listen to, which is called House to Astonish. It only comes out like every 2 months. I just listen to it out of, I don't even read modern comics. I just like those guys. The reason why I started listening to that podcast is Paul O'Brien used to do a blog called the X-Axis, which was just reviewing the X-Men books once a week. It got me through many jobs in my early 20s, just reading this over and over. I eventually found the archives online and reread the website basically from front to back. Before bed for over the course of like a few months, which was crazy. It's real comfort food for me. I love him. He's really smart. And a lot of this kind of background information I know about how they used Igor Kordy, I found from that blog. And basically whenever this arc, when they don't have an artist, they have Igor Kordy come in and basically do it really quickly. Like he's writing these books. I don't know exactly how long it usually takes to draw a comic, but he's drawing it much faster. The inking is really bad in this, and these are by far the worst looking books. And again, we talk about Grant Morrison books always having some dodgy art. I think the Igor Kordy stuff in this is pretty rough stuff.
It's rough. There's some stuff that I like about it though. There are some pages that I actually kind of dig. Like there's one coming up with Emma pretty quickly where like it's a basically close up of the profile of her face that I actually really really like. Like I think it. Like it's drawn well. I think you're correct. Like the inking in this is all over the place, and specifically faces all universally look terrible. Like
they look off model. Like they don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't look the same from panel to panel. And this guy was like a real artist. He's the guy who did. I think he was doing Cable and Deadpool.
At the time. A comic book I really like. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what he was doing. He's something with Cable. And it's much better. Like if you look at this guy's work, he is not a talentless hack. Right. Like I think he has an unfair reputation as just being a shitty artist. He's not entirely a shitty artist. He just had really bad labor conditions, basically.
Yeah.
during this. And faces are the worst, like you mentioned. Sometimes they're very good, but they're not consistent. And there are just some really, really goofy looking models. We're going to get some really dumb looking Wolverines in this book. So
love me some dumb looking Wolverines. We left off with John Sublime basically having taken control over Cyclops and Emma in his office using this mutant brain of one Martha Johansson. Emma is on the floor. She has turned into her diamond form. Cyclops is looking like Steve Buscemi, maybe? Is that the look?
I don't know what's happening to his face.
Not sure.
It's
like his
good.
face is he's melting for somehow. But John Sublime is basically saying like, hey, you guys are nothing but livestock. We're the new species in town.
And this is what confirms that Martha Johansson, the runaway from before, is what is this brain. She's a telepathic operator. She broadcasts a psychic chaff is her specific power. So it blinds mutant minds. Like she can't control people's brains. She just kind of like turns them into mush.
Yeah.
He controls her. And he's basically just villain vamping.
Yes.
At this point, would you believe the two of us coming here is like destiny? Don't you, Miss Frost? Here, have a copy of my book.
Just fucking crazy.
Just horrible. You're in your diamond form. However, one of our U-Man has microscopic visions and can find the flaw in your diamond, which is ridiculous foreshadowing. Like in like a year, that's going to become a thing. That when she's in this form, she has like a flaw.
And then he grabs her hair and lifts her up, and this is the page that I was talking about where I actually kind of
this is great.
Like the way this is drawn. And like he's grabbing her by the hair with one hand, and like you must really fucking hate me. Like maybe we could shatter you and turn you into a kinky human chandelier, and like. She's talking back like, hey, you will die. And like this line of liquid diamond lipstick, a heck of a name for a band, like because her nose is bleeding over her lips is like just it's like just super shitty. Like it's a loss of control for Emma that we really haven't seen from her. Have seen her go through, I should say.
Super terrible. He goes over, he turns his attention to Scott. He's basically trying to figure out how his powers work. Like he turns his blaster on, which smashes the dick off of his Greek statue.
Extremely great.
And basically says, we just need the head.
Yeah.
Take this guy. And eventually, we're going to have all of you, even the big hairy guy, which gives us a segue to transfer over to Wolverine. We left him in the back of this U-Man van.
I thought that meant Beast, but okay.
Oh, yeah. I think that was supposed to refer to Wolverine, but you could be right.
Yeah. I mean, it would make sense if it was Wolverine since they actually go to Wolverine. So.
Last we left him, he had just opened up the back of a U-Man van where they were planning to vivisect Angel.
Yes, and they filled his body up with their like shard gun, I guess is what you would call that. And like he just looks at him and is like, "Are you joking?"
Look at this fucking drawing of Wolverine, though, Jeremy.
Dude, it's so terrible.
That is one of the worst like faces I've seen. Like it's so horrible.
I also really don't like the way that this is written. You're joking, bub, right? Like, like bub should be at the end of that sentence.
Yep. Yeah. You don't have right. Just put a question mark, there. Yeah. It's not great. It's a horrible face there. Yes. I like that they don't show the action like this. There's some like really great little panel work on the next page.
Yes.
They show the outside of the van. They just hear him screaming. We cut over to Wolverine. His claws are out. He's covered in blood. And he reaches out to Angel. He's like, "Hey, sorry about that. I just went red." And she's like, "Yeah, like fuck." Like she's scared as hell. And
I just saw you murder 6 robots, my man.
You're covered in blood. This is horrible. We cut back. He's in the same pose, but he's retracted his claws and his face has softened.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm here to help."
The scream at the first panel, really, for whatever reason, I read that as the like Colossus power up noise from the X-Men arcade game.
Yeah. She hears out his hand, she pukes on it. Her tongue does not come out. Pukes acid. And I kind of like in general, like that one line was clumsy, but I like the writing in these issues just fine. Even the art is bad. And I like this relationship with Wolverine, with him trying to stay calm with their kind of like weird buddy comedy to drive back to New York.
Yes.
That they have, because he just gets all his acid puked on his hand. He's like, "Acid burn. No worries. A well-stocked pirate pharmacy like this should have some alkali around. Just try not to throw up on me again." Like he's just trying to hold it together.
And we've talked a lot about like Grant Morrison doing X-Men as X-Men stories, and like this is it. Like this is Wolverine taking care of a young mutant, specifically a girl, and like being her kind of guidance through the coming to terms with her mutant power and getting her to the school is a thing. And like, but this is kind of done in like in a really gross fashion, and like in a way like where this chick seems like more aggro than anybody that we've seen like this before.
I think that's the idea. Like, what if, he didn't have this perfect little, like, very polite,
yes,
mousy charge. Like, Kitty Pryde has some, like, edge to her, but, the idea being that, like, she's basically like a little girl. This is supposed to be, like, kind of a more modern little girl, like, a little bit more, a little older, a little bit more edgy, and living in the modern world where things are dark and fucked up.
Yeah.
She swears a lot.
And the next page, I'm like really like it took me a few minutes to realize what the fuck was happening in it, because it's not particularly well drawn. Like apparently a U-Man is still alive, and he's like, but you can't really see that. And Wolverine, like without even turning around, is like, hey, I wouldn't do that because you got oxygen hissing out of your tank, and then like throws his cigar at it and it explodes, but presumably not before they walk away from the thing. Like it's just.
He refers to, he's looking past her. We don't even see the U-Man in the panel. He just says like, they won't hurt you anymore. Don't even think about it back there, bub. And it's like, who's he talking to? Like, exactly. It looks like he's talking to Angel or something. It's not good. It's bad blocking and bad figure drawing.
Mm-hmm. But then we go to a restaurant where like they're getting a snack, getting some food to eat, and like he is literally pulling these little shards out of his neck, causing her to throw up on the table. Yeah. And like she's like, "What the fuck is happening to my like what is my life? Am I crazy now?" And it's like it's true to form. And you get this thing where the owner of the establishment comes up and is like, I'm going to have to ask you people to leave. And you think it's going to lead to like, oh, like I hate mutants. But it's really like, no, my son was a mutant and he had thorns on his body when he came out and killed my wife. So I broke the little child's neck. And now I don't ever want to be reminded of anything with an X gene. So you just need to get the fuck out of my establishment. And like, just a 1-page character, or I guess he's on 2 pages, but like just a very brief, like horrible, like consequence.
What this could mean.
Yeah, exactly. Consequence of mutants and why this relationship between mutants and humans are so difficult. Like you have things like this where a child dies at his father's hand because the child killed the mother, even though it wasn't the child's fault at all. Like the child was just born a certain way. It's
just a tragedy with no villains, is the idea. Like mutants hurt people on accident all the time.
Yeah.
And then of course Angel does not have tact. Like she is a rude girl, and it's like, up yours, I'm trying to eat. I don't want to hear any shit about no fucked up babies.
Like, one of my favorite lines in this, man. I don't want to hear any shit about no fucked up babies. Is so good.
Really, really funny. She's upset, and Wolverine is like, forget it. Like, where are you gonna go? She starts flying away. He takes a shot at her as she flies out the window.
Yeah.
And she crashes again. She doesn't know how to fly. Like that's one of the things I love about this. Like having wings does not mean you know how to fly. Someone still needs to teach you.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a weird kind of sub theme about this, is like learning to fly or yearning to fly between like Beak, Angel, and Sublime.
Yes.
It's kind of weird. It just keeps coming up a lot. I don't know if it's like a theme. It's just like a motif.
And I like Wolverine's like, hey, you got to keep your eyes open with fly. Like that's what my friends who fly say anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
And she's like kind of like, the doctor, like doctors can fix me, right? Like they can do cosmetic surgery and make me just a normal person. And Wolverine's like, nope, not really. Like you kind of got to do this on your own, and you got to be strong enough to do it. So, and like he leans over to comfort her, and she's like, don't touch my wings, you fucking pervert.
Yeah. It's super good. Like I love Angel.
We missed the when we talked about the annual issue. There's a scene where Emma is looking at the keys and getting like the psychic history from them or whatever, and like she falls over because it's so intense. And there's a line where like Wolverine is helping her up, and she's like, "I'm perfectly fine. Get your hand off my ass, Wolverine." Which now just makes me think that like he's just like a weird sex pest.
He's just grabby.
He's just a super grabby. He's Logan the Joe Biden of X-Men.
Yeah. Logan Biden.
Oh man. Yeah. Wow, remember when we liked Joe Biden? Like that dude was okay for a while, and then,
when I liked him, I didn't know anything about him.
That's also
I just
true.
knew that the Onion made him like the dude from Big Lebowski, and I liked that, but I didn't know anything about him. It was just so knowledge is really definitely a curse.
Autumn had a shirt from I can't remember I think it's Diesel Robot or Robot Diesel, something like that. A real popular webcomic dude, but it said we're all vice presidents in the Joe Biden fan club, and we've been going through with like cleaning stuff out of the house, and like she picked that up, and I was like, Yeah. Like it's still a funny shirt, but
yeah. At the same time, you don't want anyone to mistake it for something you care about.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like one of my buddies bought like a politics shirt, like a Bernie shirt, and like I like Bernie Sanders, but I was just thinking like owning that shirt is a real gamble because it's like either I can wear this and be like, yep, I own the shirt, he did it, or it's just like, well, I got this sad shirt. Like it feels like it's really flipping a coin.
I may have told you this, but like stop me if I've told you this before. But when our ex-governor was running for president, Bobby Jindal was running for president, his campaign slogan was tanned, rested, and ready. And and like we just couldn't help ourselves. Like we had to have that shirt. So it's like Jindal 2016. It was like, give $10 to Bobby Jindal's fucking presidential campaign, which went fucking nowhere. And he tried to like bankrupt the state getting popular enough to do it. So we have like a, tanned, rested, and ready. And like Bobby Jindal's like an Indian dude. He's a brown guy. And like to have like tanned, rested, and ready, fucking ridiculous. Oh man, Bobby Jindal.
Amazing. Yep.
He did a video where he told his kids he was running for president, and I have never seen kids more disinterested in what their father is telling them. And just in case, like we took that $10 and gave it to Bobby Jindal for the shirt, and then also gave Bernie a ton of money that year. So
balance out the scales.
Yeah.
So we cut over to the U-Men who are coming up on the Xavier Institute. They're Skyping with Sublime. At this point,
yes.
Talking is like, hey, we have their soldiers downstairs. You're going to find the institute unguarded.
Yes.
They're on an operating table downstairs. Don't worry about it.
And they basically said like, their mutant strike force is down to one uppity redhead and a bunch of gifted children with radioactive acne. Like we pretty much got this one. And I'm like,
Nope. Super good.
Yes.
We cut over to Jean inside. They're bringing up their vans to attack. The protesters are all gone. We cut to Jean. She's talking to Hank still. Talking about they have this cold, like something bad is happening. Something's crawling around the edges of our lives, picking us off one by one.
So good.
Yeah, super good. She goes to check in on Beak. Tries to read his mind. And eventually finds out like, oh, she smashed everything up in there. Like finds out that it is Cassandra Nova at this point. They don't know more details than that. But she actually comes to tears just from so how horrible it is.
That the face that she's making, like the tears coming out, like it doesn't look great, but it looks full of emotion and grief.
Yeah.
And oh no, you poor thing. Oh no, you poor thing. Like you could just hear Jean saying that. And it's just, this is a teenager that came to the Xavier's mansion probably thinking that he'd be a hero. And like this happened to him. Like somebody smashed his fucking brain and made him basically completely beat up one of his favorite teachers, like with his favorite like baseball bat. It's fucking just
like only friend in the world, like
exactly.
It's not like they talked about how lonely he was, how he can't fit in with the other kids and stuff. Like it is just like, this is a loser, and it's an incredibly tragic thing that happened to him.
And the next page, like you get this vision of him because they've got him in like this blue, like ambiotic bath, right? And like his face is like protruding above the water or whatever the fuck this is. And like, even his face, like his fucked up, like Beak face, like looks incredibly sad. And I don't know about you, but like, I just get a lot of emotion from that.
Yeah. It's really well done. She reads his mind. She's like, who made you do this? She sees Charles's face, and is alerted to this, but is interrupted by an intruder alert going off in the mansion. We cut over to Beast. Beast has crawled out of bed, and he's basically trying to show Jean where Professor X is, and goes to the Cassandra Nova file, but she's not there to do it.
I love that he goes to the morgue. Like they're keeping this chick on ice. And then like in the drawer below Cassandra Nova is just John Doe. Like they're just keeping some random. You can't like. I realize you guys have capabilities beyond the local police department, but in some things, maybe you should just turn a case over, right?
Yeah, I imagine the M wing of that morgue is all just Morlock. Like there's just tons of
Morlock 1, Morlock 2,
Morlock 2, Morlock 3. It's so fucking dark.
They bricked up the clone morgue, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
It's really fucked up. It wasn't John Doe. It was just a clone of John Doe. they cut over to Jean, who's not down there, and she calls the police, and they basically reject her. Like, hey, this is a school, we're under attack, and they're like, help yourself.
Specifically, help yourself, Muty. Like calling her a slur is, and she like looks at the phone like, what the fuck, man? Like,
yeah. Also a good frame.
Mm-hmm.
The students say like they would like to help. We can stay and fight. We're very good learners, and she's like, we're not going to be learning today. We're going to be teaching. This is one of my favorite like Jean moments.
Yeah.
That happens in comics here.
In that third panel, if you look in the background, there's somebody like with a hat and sunglasses at night, and I just want to know what this cool kid is doing. What is this cool teen
on
up
NES.
to? Yeah.
You
know what I'm saying?
He's got the mysterious stranger perk from Fallout. He's showing up there. I also like the little guy in the lower left eating chips.
Yeah.
I'll help.
Sure, man. What you got going, man?
So the U-Men break in. They bust in. They're like, we know you're defenseless, and she's like, define defenseless.
Yes.
And that is the end of the issue. The next issue is the one where both Scott and Emma escape, and Jean fights off the U-Men.
Yes. And that episode will be coming out in a couple of days. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We very much appreciate it. To support the show, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv is the place to go. You can also leave iTunes reviews and tell your friends about how great this podcast is. Don't really often ask this, but like literal direct sharing on social media, like telling your friendly X-Men friends about the show could really, really help. And if you go to the website, Days of Future Cast, you'll see links to get them directly to the comic books issues if you don't want to go through all of our movie coverage. But if you go,
which we recommend actually, though.
Yeah, that's all super good. Really there's an episode guide page on that website, so you can get a direct link to. Because we kind of scattered our movie coverage, but they're all like groups, so you can see exactly which episode covers which movie. It's really easy. Go check that out. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in a couple of days.
Good night.
These are the tales of the